weather here in Mallorca. It's actually been 118 the highest it's been lately. People have come straight out into the sun, and the first few days of the holiday have been ruined because they've been in pain.
So, welcome to the Balearic beat of Mallorca. But take care in the sun. There's much more at risk than just a ruined holiday, and that's what we're going to find out. First though, we need to take a much closer look at our skin. It covers us, it keeps our innards in, and also acts as a barrier, protecting them from the outside world. After all, it's the only thing between you and the burning sunshine. And not only the sun, the whole outside world, the bugs that live on your skin and in the air. Fly across the skin with an electron microscope and it looks very unfamiliar indeed. At 10,000 times magnification, it's not silky or smooth, but rough, with a scaly, flaking surface. Hairs the size of trees. What we think of as skin, the bit we can see, is just the surface, the very top layer. But underneath, the skin is made up of many layers of cells. The top layer is just the dead cells which are constantly shedding and being replaced from below. Just underneath is a layer of living cells containing pigment. They give our skin colour. Together with a layer of growing cells, they form the outer skin, or epidermis. And it's very thin, about half the thickness of a piece of paper. Deeper down is the dermis. This contains the hair roots, sweat glands, blood supply, and the nerve cells which enable us to feel things in contact with our skin. The dermis varies in thickness in different parts of the body, thinnest on your eyelids, 10 times thicker on the soles of your feet. Skin. Layers packed with cells doing different jobs, and below that, it's all fat. And it's important to remember that though we may look different, biologically our skins are very similar. Same layers, same cells, same functions. Of course, there's one important difference, colour. That's down to natural variations in the pigment layer we saw earlier. We'll be coming back to the advantages of having darker skin later. Back down by the pool, and everyone's getting hot. Take our pale-skinned subject. She's hot. We can see she's going red. But what's happening to her skin beneath the surface? Reddening. Makes you think blood. Remember that in the dermis there are many capillaries, small blood vessels, so it must be something to do with them. But what? The energy from sunlight is transferred to the skin. It becomes hotter. Special cells in the skin detect the increase in sunlight and send out chemical signals. These chemicals cause the capillaries to dilate, to become wider. More blood flows through them. As more blood flows through the skin, it cools you down. So first we found out the skin was a barrier, now here's a second function. It acts as a refrigerator. Pale skin is fairly transparent. The reddening that we can see is the increased blood flow through the capillaries beneath. But everyone's skin responds to heat in the same way. With a pale skin you can see the effects. With a dark skin, the blood flow is masked by the layers of pigment. And this is where things begin to get complicated. Look at the faces of people arriving at the airport. Pale ones with blue eyes and blonde hair, darker ones with brown eyes and brown hair, and some who seem to be a mixture, but typical North Europeans, people who don't live in a climate with strong sunshine. So why concentrate on them? Because white skins and strong sunshine don't mix. People with this type of skin make up only a fraction of the world's population, but suffer a large proportion of the skin problems caused by sunlight. Why? All over the world, people enjoy sunshine. Take the Caribbean. Certainly the sunshine is as intense as in Mallorca. But the people here are much less likely to suffer skin problems from the sun. It's nothing to do with the sunlight. It's that one difference in their skins, the pigment that gives skin its colour. More pigment, more protection from the sun. If you've got a dark skin and you like the sun, you can consider yourself lucky. You're well protected. But that doesn't mean your skin doesn't change in reaction to sunlight. Different populations, different climates, different skin types. We've seen what heat does to skin, but how is it affected by light? To find out, we need to do an experiment, not just on the beach, but in a laboratory. Robbie is a good subject because of her pale skin. Any changes on it will be obvious. But red-haired, with green eyes, she has a typical Celtic skin type, the type most at risk from the sun. Dr. Young at the Department of Photobiology, St Thomas's Hospital in London, will test her skin sensitivity with artificial sunlight. There's only one part of the body that you can be sure hasn't been exposed to the sun. The light beam has the same composition of high-energy radiation that you'd get on a sunny beach. Dr. Young increases the exposure time of the beam for successive areas of skin. 15 seconds on the first area, 20 on the second, and then 10 seconds longer for each of the rest. And he'll check the results after 24 hours.
What I'm going to do now, Robbie, is just to measure the reactions with this machine. Will give us a number, which is the level of redness. Okay, so you just relax and you won't feel a thing. Okay, site number 1.
The exposure time was 15 seconds.
Site number 2.
20 seconds.
Number 3.
30 seconds.
Number 4, where you show your first visual reaction.
40 seconds.
Number 5.
50 seconds.
And finally, number 6.
And 60 seconds. What do you think the readings would be for these two naturally different skin types? They've been tested too. Here are their results.
I have very, very pale skin, and it's very, very sensitive. And I know that I will never ever become as brown as Eugene.
The idea of going on holiday and sunbathing is completely out of order for me. I go on holiday to enjoy myself and to enjoy the sunshine, but not to sit and sunbathe. As you can see, I've got very, very dark skin. I don't need to go out and get a suntan when I go on holiday. My skin does get burnt and I can get tanned. I do go darker as well in the sunshine, but my skin is not as sensitive as Sonia's.
Exposure to strong sunshine has certainly had an effect on these sensitive skin types. Painful. It certainly looks like pale people from Britain who come to the hot sun once a year are most at risk of burning. But some people can lie in the sun and they don't burn. They tan. But what is a tan? How does it happen? The most obvious thing about a tan is it's a change of colour. As we've seen, the skin is made up of many layers of cells, but when it comes to skin colour, it's down to one particular type of cell. This one, a melanocyte. Its job is to produce melanin granules of brown pigment. It's the different numbers of pigment granules that cause the differences in natural skin colour. Some people naturally have more melanocytes than others. More pigment granules, darker skin. Fewer pigment granules, whiter skin. We've already seen that more pigment protects darker skins against the sun. But why? Let's take a look at how melanocytes react to sunlight. When our skin is exposed to strong sunlight, the melanocytes make more granules of pigment. Gradually, the granules move up through the cells of the epidermis. More pigment granules in the top layer make our skin look darker. Whatever your skin type. If you already have a lot of pigment in your skin, the change isn't as obvious. It's the relative change in the amount of pigment granules that makes some people tan in the sun. Now you know what makes skin vary in color and how some skins tan, but do you know why? What are pigment cells for? A clue. The pigment granules absorb light energy. Look where they are in the skin cells. What are they protecting? The most important part of the cell, the nucleus. Now you can see why people with dark skins are better protected from the sun. Darker skins, more melanin granules around their skin cell nuclei. More melanin, more harmful sunlight absorbed, better protection. Exposure to the sun increases the production of melanin granules, but with so many already, the difference, the tan, isn't obvious. But you can see the difference on paler skins. They don't have so many melanocytes to start with, but they do produce more melanin granules. But if more pigment protects darker skins, surely boosting the amount of pigment by getting a tan is a good thing for pale-skinned people, the body's natural sunshade being activated. Actually, no. Increased melanin production is a case of the body trying to protect itself. We know the melanin is there to protect the nucleus of the skin cells, but we haven't asked what it's protecting us from. To answer that, you have to stop thinking of sunshine as light and start thinking of it as radiation. Radiation sounds a bit heavy, but think about it. What is sunlight? Sunlight is electromagnetic radiation of various wavelengths. There's light, which we can see, heat, which we can feel, and there's ultraviolet radiation, which we can neither see nor feel. We only know we've been exposed to it when we've had too much. If you spend a lot of time in the sun exposed to this ultraviolet light, you can guarantee your skin will look much older. Look at this. The skin around the neck which has been exposed is leathery, wrinkled and dry. And the skin that's normally protected is smoother, very much younger looking. The dermis contains protein fibers which make our skin supple and firm. These elastin and collagen fibers are damaged by ultraviolet radiation. What we see here at the microscopic scale is, on the left, perfectly healthy elastin fibers, but on the right, exposure to ultraviolet radiation has broken up the proteins into fragments, and later it will show as photo-aged skin, leathery, wrinkled and dry. So it's the UV radiation which causes that old before your time look. But that's not all it can do. There's much worse to come. To understand the dangers of UV, we need to go down to the microscopic scale. Like any cell in the body, skin cells have a nucleus containing the genetic material DNA. What has UV light got to do with your DNA? Usually nothing. UV radiation normally passes through the cell with no effect. But very occasionally, a photon of UV light changes your DNA. Watch what happens again. The UV light changes part of the cell's DNA, a process called mutation. That segment of the DNA is now different from before. So what? Well, again, usually nothing. Most mutations make the cell work less efficiently. Normally skin cells mutated by UV shrivel up and die. But you've got millions of skin cells, so no need to worry about killing off a few, right? Wrong. Very occasionally, the mutation doesn't kill the cell. It causes the cell to start to divide, out of control. This is bad news. Cells that start to divide and then grow like this are called transformed cells. They're the start of skin cancers. And if it's the melanin-producing cells which are affected, then this cancer is malignant melanoma, which is very serious because it can spread from your skin to all parts of the body. If it isn't detected and treated early, it is fatal. But not everyone is equally at risk from melanoma. Lots of UV-absorbing pigment granules protect your skin. Good news, if that's your skin type. But few pigment granules, bad news. The incidence of melanoma is increasing hugely in pale North Europeans who expose themselves to short, sharp bursts of sunlight. Typical on a once-yearly holiday in the sun. But isn't there anything we can do to enjoy the sunshine safely? Yes, there is. These people are doing it. I bet you've done it too.
Here we go with the first exposure.
Remember Robbie's sun sensitivity experiment? Look what happens when the same thing is repeated through a layer of sunscreen.
Now, Robbie, what I want to do is to see how good a sunscreen is at protecting you from burning. So I'm going to apply the sunscreen to your skin and go through the same procedure again. And we can compare the situation with and without the sunscreen. So can you relax again while I prepare the sunscreen? Well, Robbie, you've reacted rather nicely here, but what's good is that the sunscreen has completely protected. There's no sunburn there whatsoever.
Look again at both sites. After the first set of exposures, Robbie's skin reacted quite noticeably, but then with sunscreen protecting her, the UV radiation did not penetrate, and there was no reaction. Helping to protect your skin in this way obviously works then, but how? Sunscreens reduce the intensity of the sun reaching your skin, and there are two types of preparation you can use, and they work in rather different ways. Sunscreen cream works by absorbing the ultraviolet radiation and greatly reduces the level of penetration. Sun block prevents virtually any sun getting to the skin by reflecting it or scattering it, a bit like a mirror on the skin. Sunscreens can only protect you if you use them properly. Their level of protection varies according to the SPF, sun protection factor. The higher the SPF, the greater the level of protection. If you have pale skin that burns easily, you want to use a high SPF, at least factor 10. Using a sunscreen simply to stay longer in the sun is pointless. If you use an SPF of 4 and spend 4 times longer in the sun, you'll have had no protection. You'll have simply got the same dose over a longer period of time. Remember, it does wear off with swimming, sweating, or just rubbing yourself down with a towel.
I have to use a high factor. I start off with about 20. The first couple of days we went to the beach and I stayed under the umbrella and I was alright. After that I went up to a 15 and I felt my arms burning and my legs burning, so I kept like smothering all this 15 all over my body and it was just really painful. You know, I'm on a factor 30. So anyway, so I just smother myself in this cream now and just stay in the shade most of the time, but it's alright. I mean, I still enjoy the sun, you know, as much as anybody, but I just have to take care of myself. So the tan's not everything.
That's right. Actually, a tan isn't everything. You have to think about the skin you have rather than the skin you want. And if you're pale, maybe it would be more fashionable and safer to stay that way.